As you get older, you start to realize that life gets lot more lonely. And that's just the way it is. And I don't think we're really taught from a young age that life would be like this, because when you're at school, everyone has the same, I guess, ambitions. You're all doing the same thing and you're all doing the same thing together. And obviously, when you get older, you start to realize that people go their own separate ways. And now you're sort of tasked with this huge responsibility or responsibilities. Now you got to manage and now you got to pave your own way. And this can be daunting to a lot of people. And I say we change that into something more exciting, something that is more exhilarating and makes us realize that the freedom we have as being an adult can be quite splendid, if you will. Also, before we start, I want to give a shout out to this dude on the internet where he provided all of the mod packs. And actually my game pretty much got fixed as a result of that. So yeah, I think it's Oaks to Awesome. I'll give him a little shout out in the comments, so go follow him. And yeah, it looks amazing, man. But I think I like this texture pack more, or shader pack. So let's run with it. I think I'll start off by saying that life is never truly lonely, because again, when you're just by yourself, you kind of, I guess, come into the planet by yourself and you're going to leave the planet by yourself. So it's a pretty simple formula for, I guess, combating loneliness, but that's just how it is. So there shouldn't be no reliance upon anyone in that case. And it should be a thing of, yeah, spread love to the world, communicate to a lot of people in the world, but don't leave it to a point where you become reliant on them. Because that's not really true. That's not really authentic. It's more of an insecurity when you start to rely on other people and you kind of want your hand held at every stage of life, and that's not what we should try to aim to build our lives towards. And again, for the next however old you are, for the next maybe 100 years or so, or however long you decide to live, 70 years, 80 years, whatever, right? Because you might get some people from the older audience in this video, you might get some people from the younger side of life. And regardless of your age, at some point in your life, you would have felt lonely. That's just a given. And you can even be surrounded by a lot of people and a lot of people you deem as friends, but you still feel like nothing's completely right. It doesn't really feel something that is deep inside of you. And that can be the case for a lot of people, which again is a reflection that there's something wrong inside of us, and it's something to kind of learn from. It's something to teach us. It teaches us more about ourselves and what we must do in order to feel more whole, to feel like the number one in a sense, because you're not complete. And if you're not complete with yourself, how are you going to be complete with others? And yeah, I mean, look, if we take, for example, the character I'm playing in this game, I believe it's called Steve, or I don't know, whoever this default skin is. Look how vast the world is, right? Look at how pretty much endless it is, up to a certain point. But obviously if you go beyond in the skies and space and all that stuff, if it comes to real life, then you start to realize that we're just little specks of dust in the grand, I guess, cosmos, in the grand scheme of things. And it makes you feel like it's kind of lonely. It makes you feel like, damn, life is kind of meaningless, it's kind of lonely. It's, what is the point if it's only going to be the next 80 years or so? And that's a great question to have, because it's valid. It's valid to think that, yeah, pretty much, if you're going to be alone all the time, what's the point of it? And I don't think that's the way that you should be looking at life, but it's a very easy kind of way to feel about that. And that can be very liberating in a sense, because it frees you from all the binds and all the chains that you might have with other people and life itself. It could either make you realize to a certain point that either you become free at that point and you get to think for yourself, or it can become very depressing because you start to think that it's all futile, which it isn't, but it's very easy to kind of get to that point. And for the people who think like that, even if it was, and even if you're 100% right, how do you go about living your life now? And do you think that that is the correct way to living a very joyful and abundant and happy life? Or is it something that is just going to take you down a pretty dark path and where does it eventually lead you to? Probably something that's going to be very dark. So what's the point of even entertaining the idea? Why don't you just instead enjoy the limited time on this planet and go from there? And I guess I've gotten to the point where I'm going on a little bit of a tangent. So let's keep talking about loneliness. And I think a lot of people, post-COVID, post-lockdown, or even during it, to be honest, there was such a mind switch in terms of how they feel about life and how lonely they truly are. Because again, you're pretty much socially isolated, right? Like you don't get to see anyone. And it got people thinking a lot. And yeah, some people might have felt lonelier than ever, but in another perspective or context, you can say that the truth has been unveiled, and as a result, they lie with the truth. They stand with the truth. And the truth is yourself, you with your mind, and you just sort of existing without any attachment, without any kind of distractions or anything that could take you away from yourself. And I guess even during this period of time, it probably was pretty easy to get addicted to, short form content, because that's when it started to really pop off. And then you're kind of glued to your devices, right, during that time, because there wasn't much else to do. And then you kind of come to the realization after being warped into a digital world like that your existing world feels lonely. And it's far from it, because the thing is, right, you still have potentially a community. If you do live within a community, you still have neighbors if you have neighbors. You still have all of these people that you see on a daily basis if you leave the house, right? And again, not all of you are going to have that, because maybe you might live in like some crazy far lands or something like that. I don't have the answer for that. So yeah, but for the people who do live in, like, say for example, a city or just a place that's pretty civilized, not civilized, a lot of people in it, life is not as lonely. And that's why a lot of people, they tend to kind of glorify the olden days of like socialization and going out and having fun, friends. It's always this sort of communication, and as a result of, again, social isolation during COVID, then you've had this point where you feel lonely because you don't really get to do those things. And then if you're sort of focusing on things like TikTok, for example, and you're just constantly watching stuff like that, it's going to make you feel even more lonely, because you're seeing all these people have fun, all these people doing, all these trendy stuff and all of that jazz, but you're not. And then you kind of come back to reality after getting them cheap dopamine fixes, and now you're back to reality. And then now you're just like lying on your bed all alone, staring at the ceiling, and you're thinking, damn, where is my life going? And then all of those thoughts seem to hit you because you've been spending time warped in a digital world rather than spending time with yourself and figuring yourself out. And the really cool thing about that is, when you feel those sort of pressures when you're like by yourself at night, for example, it's a good thing, because your mind is basically telling you, hey, listen, buddy, you got to fix up, and I'm going to give you pain and stress and anxiety because you're not satisfied internally. So we're going to give you these signs so you can help fix it, because because ultimately, as humans, we like to avoid pain, right? We like to avoid discomfort, and we like to live in comfort. So sometimes in order to achieve that comfort, you have to go through discomfort, and again, your body will signal that to you. And then you can start to realize that, oh, okay, maybe I have to do some more work on myself. Maybe I have to socialize more. Maybe I have to realize that this is my own individual journey, and it's a blessing for me to be around everyone else, as it is a blessing for others to be around me. And again, sometimes when you're on the path of, that feels different to everyone else, because it is an individual journey, it will get lonely. But again, this is when you have to start to realize that as long as you have yourself, nothing else matters. Everything else is just like a bonus. And when you start to live like that, you don't become reliant on other people to satisfy your desire from being bored. Because then when you think about it, if you feel lonely all the time and you're trying to find people just to satisfy that urge, that's not real authentic friendship or relationship or whatever the case may be. That's just you trying to fill in a void, and the void within yourself. And I'm not saying, just completely isolate yourself from the world, but I'm just saying to make it more authentic, to really make it true to whatever you get out of the way, whatever you would deem it to be the best. And I think that's the most important thing, and I think that's another reason why people tend to get lonely, because when they start to live within their true selves, a lot of the world around them, it doesn't match them, because maybe you're evolving as a person, or maybe you just have different interests, and then as a result, other people, they tend to leave, or they're not happy with that because they're used to the older you, the you that was basically reliant on them. And because now they've lost their power over you in a sense, they're not happy with that. And that pretty much leads you to the path of, maybe not having as many people in your life. But at least on the bright side, you can now truly say that you're living within your own truth. And you can find like-minded people. Think about it, right? If you feel lonely right now, you have the internet and things like that. You have maybe real life. You might have clubs you can go to, or just places where, like, think about this, yeah? If you're looking for a good friend, right? Where would your ideal friend be chilling at on, I don't know, like a Friday night or whenever you're free? And just figure that out. And then once you find that out, yeah, as I was saying, when you figure that one out, then you start to realize that, holy crap, there are other people like me. And these are now like-minded people you can chill with. Or again, if it's a relationship you want, I'll probably make another video on love, because I think it's something that everyone seems to struggle with. I did make a video previously, but it just didn't get any views. I think it's because I was playing Valorant and doing it. So anyway, you can find that out on the channel if you want to search for it. But yeah, even if it's like a relationship that you want deep down inside, what would that dream girl be, or man be, doing? Maybe a Friday night or whatever. And you just sort of link up at these sort of places, and then you start to match and all that stuff. But again, even if that's the case, right, you may not even attract a good friend or a good relationship from that. And why, you might be asking? Well, it's because you might not be truly on the same level that they're at. Maybe you still have things to do and you're just expecting too many things, and you're not really bringing anything to the table, And that's where you got to really self-grow and get yourself to positions where you kind of grow individually as a, maybe, oh goodness, physically or spiritually or mentally or emotionally. You're at a place where you're just going to keep on getting better. And as a result, whilst you're on that path, oftentimes you'll stumble into people without even forcing it. And the next thing you know, life seems to flow so much more harmoniously. And that's the fun of life. The unpredictability, the idea that we are enough by ourselves, and we are more than capable of leading our lives by ourselves, and that everyone else in it, who exists for the good or bad, is a blessing. And now you're probably asking, why bad too? Well, they teach you a lot. They teach you a lot about yourselves, and they teach you a lot about the world and people, and they pretty much teach you about them. So don't ever think about people in a bad way like that. Just think of it as learning experiences. Think of it as something that will make you into a better person. Because again, sometimes you need the bad in order to see the good. The same way you see light at the end of a tunnel. It's the same kind of thing. You still have to go through the dark tunnel, right? And yeah, I mean, if you're feeling lonely even right now, it's alright, man. It's okay. Really try to think about why it is you feel lonely. What is it that you truly desire? Are you bored? Is this just energy that's been misdirected into, again, feeling lonely? And how can you transform that power? What does the loneliness make you feel like? Does it make you feel grief? If that's the case, then you can maybe use it for journaling. Maybe you can start to plan out how you can become less lonely. If it makes you feel angry, you can use that anger on maybe working out, maybe doing some tasks that you've been putting to the side and taking control of your life. Whatever the feeling that it gives you, there's always that kind of, I guess, magic that you can sort of transform it into. And you always have to remember that being lonely it's normal. It's completely normal. Everyone has gone through it. Probably parents have probably gone through it at some point. And as you get older, it just happens. Not to say that that means that you're going to forever live like that. Of course not. Again, you can meet so many like-minded people nowadays, especially with the help of the internet. Like even this channel here, there are so many cool people out there. Especially a lot of people. Even if you're watching this video, it means that we sort of gravitate to some extent, right? And that's cool. So be very blessed that you're part of this generation where you can now expand from just local community to a global level, and now you can make friends from all over the world. So you're never truly lonely. There's about what, 8 billion people in the world, and they're probably going through the same, or a lot of them are going through the same loneliness things that you're going through. So don't be disheartened. It just makes the character grow, and it teaches you a lot. So remember to pay attention to the teachings. Remember to really work on the teachings that it gives you as well, because a lot of times from what I've seen is that loneliness, it comes from a feeling of a lack of self-esteem, a lack of feeling whole, and a lack of feeling confident. And if you look at the people who you might deem as, like not lonely, they typically have all of those things ticked off: high self-esteem, high confidence, and feeling whole. They smile, they're enthusiastic and things like that. So you can learn a thing or two from them too. But yeah, I hope this helps. Again, if you're lonely, just remember it's okay to be lonely. Get through it by however you can in any healthy habit. Take some time, because it probably will take some time to get over, and keep working on the self-awareness, man, because once you become more self-aware, the better and quicker and sooner you can tackle it and actually make yourself less lonely, and imagine how nice a life would feel like if you didn't feel loneliness again. So anyway, peace and blessings to you all, and I hope this helped in any kind of way. See you later.